Колеги, вітання. Український кризовий медіа-центр продовжує свою роботу. Дякую всім, хто прийшов, хто
Thank you for coming, and thank you for those who are watching us online. The topic of our next press conference is countering Russian propaganda in Italy, experience of a journalist, and I invite Mr. Mauro Verzo, Italian activist and journalist. Yes,
Mauro. I'm a freelance journalist in Italy, and I wrote for a little newspaper. I have begun my activity of freelance journalist, that is like a hobby for me, during Maidan, when I have understood that the spread out of propaganda also in my country, there was begun Russian propaganda about the fact of Maidan. And I was in Maidan 2 months, on total of 3 months I was stay in the square. When finished Maidan, I wrote a little book that named The Angels of Maidan, where there is all my experience in the square and the people that I have met and the fact, the chronology. I have wrote this book only for try to explain to Italian people what happened in the square, because information that is arrived was completely different in Italy. And now, after when began the war in Ukraine, I began to do some video reportage, and I have created a YouTube channel for inform people in Italy what's happened real in Ukraine. And now in these weeks I'm in Kyiv, and I prepare a new documentary that's titled Maidan 2 years later, for explain to people what was the feeling, the sentiment of the people 2 years ago, and what they think today about this revolution. First, before to speak about Russian propaganda in Italy, I want to say one important thing that I think, because I feel every time people during the conference ask what we need for to be European, Ukrainian. And I think that is not a good question, because Ukrainian are European. They don't do nothing for to do like European, because already Ukrainian are European. I want to I think that this is important to underline, because it's like a concept of inferiority. No, for an Italian, when feel these questions, is thinking that is a complex of inferiority of Ukrainian people. No, I know that they need new rules and fight hard against corruption. Yes, but also in Italy we have this problem of corruption, and we are European. And vice versa, Ukrainian can teach to European something. For example, I have interviewed different religious people in Ukraine, Jews, Greco-Catholic, Muslim, and Ukrainian model of cooperation and cohabitation is very advanced, for example. And this is a model, religious model that there is in Ukraine, and now is a model that Ukrainian can teach to all European people. In Europe, we have now very big problem now with cohabitation of religions, and so Ukrainian can teach to European this. But now we arrive to the focus of my presence here, that is Russian propaganda in Italy. Oh, you know, unfortunately, Italy is the most pro-Russian country in Europe. And they have the main television channel, the main newspaper, and they have a fixed reporter in Kyiv. For example, the main television channel, when need to speak about Ukraine and war in Ukraine and other things, use is reporter from Moscow. And so you can imagine which is the report that arrive in Italy, arrive the point of view of reporter that live and work in Moscow. And about this, there is a nice story that happened to me 2 years ago after Maidan. And was one important journalist from the newspaper La Repubblica. She is a fixed reporter for this newspaper in Moscow, and she lived in Moscow 15 years. And after Maidan, she came in Kyiv for look and write what's happened in Maidan. And after 1 week, she wanted to meet me, because know me that I'm Italian, I'm in Kyiv, and I was in Maidan. And she said to me that the first 2 days that she was in Kyiv, she spoke only English. And she knows very well Russian language. But she spoke English because she think, living in Moscow, that if you spoke Russian language in Kyiv, the Nazis Ukrainian do sexual injuries against you. This is a nice story because she was not brainwashed people. She was a journalist, she was Italian, but she lived in Moscow and continued to feel and repeat this mantra, no? In Ukraine, in Kyiv, there are only Nazis, etc., etc. The second motivation of Russian propaganda in Italy is historical. Italy was in Europe the country with the main communist party, and its leader of this communist party studied in Moscow, all leaders. And so they build up a dense network of communication and relationship, and a big flow of money ever arrived in Italy from Moscow for support this communist party. Therefore, they have secret channel for finance propaganda, and other new channel they have opened in the last 2 years. I have no proof about this, but it's very strange that in the last 2 years in Italy are opened several cultural associations. These cultural associations are named, for example, with the name of the region, Italian and Russia. For example, there is association Lombardia, Russia. There is association Piemonte, Russia. There is association Sicilia, Russia. In every region, there is one of these associations. And in every of these associations, there is one man from Russia, like director, for example, and one political man of the all far-right party Italians of Lega Nord or Forza Italia of Berlusconi. And so you understand that of cultural they have nothing, they do only propaganda. In my region, for example, the president of association of Russia, Piemonte Russia, is Alexander Dugin. No, it's incredible. Dugin that do conference for culture is, and there is a third motivation also that actually the actually political situation in Italy. We have a government with Democratic Party, with Matteo Renzi, that have a good position. He stay with Europe, he try also to keep the contact with Russia, with Putin, but in the end he support the decisions of Europe. But many of the opposition parties are not pro-European, are against Europe. And so they use this idea of Russia, also if they are not pro-Russia, but they use this idea of Russia for to do is politics against Europe. And so this is the third motivation why in Italy the Russian propaganda is very, very popular. And in the opposition bloc to Renzi government, you can find Forza Italia of Berlusconi, that is strongest friendship of Putin. You can find the Five Stars movement, that is the political party of the comic Beppe Grillo, that is like anarchy party. They are not ideological party, left or right. They are anarchy, and but they are against Europe. And so, for them, Putin is a good and fundamental are also all these parties. There is also far-right party and left-right party. And all these parties are also against USA and NATO. And so everyone that try to fight USA and is against NATO is my friends for them. And this is another political problem. This is the situation, the political situation in Italy. You need to imagine also that in this situation, 80% of media are in the hands of parties, political, and that are pro-Russian. And so it's very, very difficult situation because they control the information. In the last days, for example, an important newspaper that named Limes is geopolitical newspaper online, publish a map with Crimea under Russian territory. And ambassador of Ukraine in Italy, Pereliegin, wrote a note against this, say why you, because Crimea is under occupation, is not Russian territory. And the answer was a little bit offensive, the answer of this newspaper. And they say, it's de facto Russia, what do you want? This is the synthesis of this answer. But you need to understand that this newspaper is financed from Eni. Eni is the most important player for energy in Italy. And Eni have a big deal with Russian energy power. And so you understand why they brought these things. I have also published 2 days ago an article about this problem of this article of limes, and you can find the director of this newspaper on YouTube when 1 year ago she described Ukrainian like animal, like Nazis, and they say he was also with another Moldavian writer that live in Italy, that name is Nikolai Lilin. And they say that Ukrainian is not a country that people need to have a country, because Ukrainian are Russian, what they want. And so imagine that these people normally go in television and in talk show and explain to people that are Italian are not pro-Russian, normal people. But when you stay at home and you look TV and these people explain to you what's happening in Ukraine, in this way you can say, okay, Ukrainians are Nazis and they are Russian, what they want. With these people is impossible to have a confrontation, because you cannot, if you ask have a confrontation, public confrontation, they don't permit. And like me, but more some writer, I have some friends that are writer they know very well Ukraine. And these people before Maidan was invited in television, in talk show, in radio for speak about Ukraine. But after Maidan, close. Never been invited, no one time. Also me, when I was in Maidan, radio, TV called me, and I was on the phone for explain what's happening. But when finished Maidan and begin Crimea, no one contacted me. It's very, very strange. What we can do against this Russian propaganda? I think that there are two main ways. One is technical. It's technical because Russia use also some newspaper like Sputnik. Sputnik every day publish news against Ukraine in Italian language. And I receive from Google, I receive the news every day, the news about Ukraine, with the keywords Ukraine. And 50% of this news are from Sputnik. And so you think, oh, many people read Sputnik because are on the top. No, this is a technical problem, because Google, for that you enter in top page of Google, look how many click and share you have. We know that in St. Petersburg there is a troll factory. What they do? They do only this. They take the article of Sputnik and Russia Today that are published in every country, and they click and share, click and share. And so after arrive, for example, 1,000 of share or click, there is a trigger at Google put into the top news. And so every day in this way you are in the top news. I know that, for example, Ukraine have no a troll factory. And it is also good because troll factory is artificial way to do information. But I think that Ukraine need to have more strongest collaboration with organization. They need to find in every country in Europe some journalists that wrote about Ukraine and support them only with sharing and only with read his article. In this way, if you have, for example, 3 journalists in France, 3 in Germany, and 3 in Italy, when they publish the news, they have many clicks, and in his country, they enter in top news. And so you understand that there is not only the news of Sputnik. The second is to do a good counter-propaganda to Russia is cultural. It's cultural. We need that people in Europe know the Ukrainian culture, because if you have a culture, you are a country. If you have a history, and so it's the best way to say we have our culture. We are not Russian because we have different culture. It's simple. We have different poet, writer, history man. And so we need to do this. It's very important cultural. And in the same times is also very important the tourism. Because thinking, if we have a very good incoming tourism in Ukraine from Europe, and they come in Kyiv, or in Lviv, or in another city, and they look that there are not the Nazi Ukrainian that kill people on the streets like they say. They come here and find people very good, that there is very good food. It's very nice country, Ukraine. And so these people will return in Italy, in France, in Germany, and feel on TV this propagandist. They laugh, they smile, they say, it's crazy this man that say these things. I was staying in Ukraine. It's not true that are criminals, that are assassins. And this, I think, is the best way, because people come, look that there is a different culture, that there are not criminals, and you understand that the power of propaganda, the real power of propaganda is keep the people without know. If you have a brainwashed people, you can do propaganda. But you have in front of you a prepared people. You cannot say stupid things because he know and say he can counter you. And yes, I want to conclude about these things that propagandists are terrified from this, are terrified from the truth, and are terrified from the people that use his brain. We don't need to continue to speak about Ukraine through us, because normally 90% of us, also I speak with Ukrainian diaspora of Italia, but we speak about things that we are agree. We know how is the situation. The problem, our target is arrive to neutral people. The people that have no information, and that the only channel of his information is television and newspaper. But we know that we cannot do nothing against television and newspaper because 80% are controlled like Russian propagandists. And so the only way, I think, to do counter-propaganda is that people look at different culture and different country, and in this way we can have a very good result in not long time. Thank you.
Maro, thank you very much for your experience and for your thoughts. We have a couple of minutes for questions. Dear colleagues, are there any questions or concerns? Yeah, please.
Yulia Valfovska, Ukraine Crisis Media Center. You mentioned the 80% that the media influenced by Russian propaganda cover. Are there independent media in Italy that are trusted enough by people, and are they ready to broadcast the truth about Ukraine as well?
Yes, these newspapers are trusted by people. And I don't want to say that publish only Russian propaganda. Sometimes they publish also a good article. But the main articles, and also also for this I have no proof, but I have one friend that say to me that, for example, if you are a country, for example Russia, and you want that some of your journalists publish an article, it's very simple. I can do this without problem against law. I buy a page of reclama on your newspaper, but I don't do reclama. I pay for this page. In exchange, when I need that my article of my journalist that wrote in your newspaper, I call and say, tomorrow I want this article. It's very easy. And business control many things now, economics. You can imagine the newspaper that need finance, no? Cannot say no to spot, to money that arrive in clear and not against the law. And so if you have money now, you control many media. And also in Italy we have the problem of Berlusconi, that only one man controls 50% of the media, newspaper and TV, and he is very, very friendly with Putin. So,
next question.
Tatiana Okharko, Ukraine Crisis Media Center. I'd like to ask you about Ukrainian diaspora in Italy, and about because we know that there are a lot of Ukrainians in Italy, and probably you have a kind of advice for them, because there are a lot of people living there. Probably there is something to be done just to improve the image of Ukraine, or probably not only diaspora, but also kind of scientific centers in academic circles. Probably something could be done, because tourism is a very good idea, but we do know that not a lot of Europeans would come to Ukraine because there is a war in this country and a lot of people are just afraid.
Yes, I want to say for tourism, because it's a sector that I know very well, it's not difficult. You need only to create the good, for example, you need to have flight connection, You need to have translation of the streets. And after tourists arrive without a problem, because imagine that this year, for example, many Italians go in Albania. It's not a country for tourism, but it's cheaper. And the same Ukraine also for European is very cheaper. They can come here, have a good travel without spending too much money. The problem for this is promotion and connection flight are the two main. If you resolve this, if you do promotion in the foreign country, you can have a good tourism. For Ukrainian diaspora, Italia, one of the problems that many people that from Ukraine arrive in Italy for work are women, and so there is a stereotype that Ukrainian are the people who look old people, no, that work in home, but they do very many activities to explain which is the culture of Ukraine. And the problem that very often this activity we are together, we know each other. Also, we return to the problem that we need to arrive to neutral people. We need to invite the people who don't know us. And so we can explain what we are and what we can do.
Thank you so much for your presentation. My name is Yevhen Fedchenko. I'm from Stop Fake Project. And my question would be about propaganda. So when you notice a kind of active arrival of Russian propaganda in Italy, so if you look retrospectively, when it all started that Russian propaganda became so available in Italy, and the second part of the question is which Russian institutions are the most active in doing propaganda in Italy? Thank you.
Yes. Begin from Maidan, really. After but the hard activity begin from finish Maidan. Russia in Italy is not in first stage. Usually they use association, they use writer, they use journalists. For example, I don't know if you know one Italian journalist that named Giulietto Chiesa. Giulietto Chiesa is fixed guest in a talk show in Moscow. He worked 15 years like a correspondent from Moscow for Italy. And in Italy, many people know this man, and many talk show invite him. And so you understand they don't need to send a reporter or TV. They have into the society people who create this propaganda. They are in connection and they arrive. Also, the rhetoric of propaganda, if you be careful, the rhetoric of propaganda change Russian propaganda. All the same. For example, we need to speak bad about Turkey. In one day, these people all publish on his blog something against Turkey. We need to speak very bad about, I don't know, Poroshenko, the president, or people. And so there is, I think that there is like a organization. They are coordinated. And Russia in first person is not present. It's present only with Sputnik, Italian, and Russia Today. But for example, Italian television for its service many times use the service of Russia Today. This is another way. Because they have no correspondent in Kyiv. Only is also good correspondent Mark Hinaro. It's many years that he is in Moscow. But he work and live in Moscow. And maybe also if he is a honest people and very good journalist, but when you live in this reality, your brain is also a little bit brainwashed.
We have the time for the last question. Is there any? If there are no more questions, thank you, Mauro, for coming and giving us a chance to hear what international community, at least some part of it, thinks of Russian propaganda about events in Ukraine. Thank you for coming, and looking forward to seeing you in the closest future. Yeah, bye-bye. Колеги, я нагадую, що наша